Now, the topic of today, it's related to product ownership, and we and he is also a strong critic of the presentations. I still remember, Peter, that I asked you for feedback at the end of one of my presentation, and the feedback that you have given to me at that time, it's still very strong in my mind, and I always think about it when I start preparing a presentation.
Well, that's good. Hopefully it helps you out as well. That's the intent.
Yeah, and Joanna, it's an expert in Agile, and she is a dear guest of us, especially because she's a Romanian, but she left Romania some 20 years ago, and now she's living, working in Canada. Both Joanna and Peter, they are author of a book that they will reference in our today presentation. But before starting this presentation, as you know that we do usually, we invite you to contribute to our meetup. So please join us through Menti. I'm going to show you the info. So either through your smartphones or your laptops or iPads, please go to menti.com. And the code for our meeting today, it's on the screen right now. So 81220716. Because of course, we would like to know more about you. And we will invite you also to the usual quiz in the beginning of our meeting. So if you manage to join us, just, yeah, I can see on the screen. Yeah, my preferred, the kitten. I see the kittens coming. Perfect. So let us hear you. Where are you from? And please enter the city or the region where you are today. And as usually, yeah, you will see on the screen that we are from Bucharest, Cluj, Sofia, Toronto, Popeșle-Ordeni for our guest. It's close to Bucharest. Corabia.
Corabia, yeah, Corabia.
And we do have Târgu Mureș. I have no idea what is that Samurcaș, so, or something?
Yes, indeed.
Chrissy, this is you?
Yes. It's a small village close to Buftea.
Okay.
It's part of the Crevedia and Dâmbovița County.
Uh-huh.
Dâmbovița County.
Yeah.
Okay, good. I try to see the chat. Good, I see it.
It's okay.
Okay, now the second question refers to the industry that you are in. And
Imediat.
okay, sometimes we have children as well. So what type of organization do you represent? Are you from IT and CS? Usually most of the people who are coming to our meetups are from IT and C, but we are really welcoming people from engineering, from banking, from retail. We are always interested in other industries. What would be a more interesting one?
Media.
Media. Oh, correct, Alina. Yeah. Okay, so as you can see, it's still the ITNC that leads, but slowly we will gather more and more industries. Okay, now, ladies and gentlemen, you know that we usually have a quiz, and this time we have only 5 questions, so be prepared. You know that you will get points for the correct answer, but also for the speed of the answer. So the fastest you answer, if the answer is correct, of course, more points you get. Okay, so ready? The warm-up question is today a quote. And the quote says, adapt what is useful, reject what is useless, and add what is specifically your own. Who do you think the quotes, who do you think it said? And because this was the warm-up, you can see that the time allowed was very, very short. And yes, it wasn't Karate Kid, although yes, it is related to karate. It was Bruce Lee who said it, not Chuck Norris. And the reason for which Chris Lucassen it's on this screen is because he he has a book related to product management, in which he compared the product manager with a samurai, a karate specialist. Yes, and the reason for which we chose this quote is that we would like to recommend you that everything you hear today, he consider if it has any chance to be applied in your organization. So it's not that if it's not something that you feel comfortable with, you will completely disconsider, but think if there is something that you can try and if there is something that you can improve by using some of the information that that you learn here. So the next question, after you can see the leaderboard, and it seems that, yeah, Marius, it's on the top of our leaderboard today. Let's see if you can do something with this. The next question, it's a much easier question. So answer as fast as you can. It is related to the sprint. And we know that sometimes the sprint can be canceled. And the question is, who has the authority to cancel the sprint? And you need to answer fast because this is a simple question. So choose your option. And I can see that we have already 24 people, 25, and time is up. Well, it seems that the product owner has the authority to cancel the sprint when he or she consider that the sprint goal is become obsolete. And we choose this question because the product owner and the product ownership is the topic of our discussion today. So let's see this leaderboard. And yeah, you will see the points for this question. And now they sum up with the previous one. And Adi, it's on the top of our leaderboard right now. And Riru was the fastest. Okay, let's see. 3 more questions. The next one is not so easy one, so be prepared. And question number 3 says, what is the primary and more important goal of a product owner? And pay attention, there are only 3 seconds left. 2, 1, and yep, most of you got it. It's product value maximizer, while the product owner is also accountable with the backlog management, which means that he is going to create and communicate the product backlog items. He is going to prioritize those. But these are things that he or she does because his main responsibility is to maximize the value of the end result. Okay, let's see the leaderboard. And it seems that was Bill or Christina was the fastest. Christina was the fastest. And Adit's still on the top of the leaderboard. Okay. And question number 4, which consider different agile approaches, different frameworks. Is there any of these that has no description of the role of the product owner? What do you think? And yes, we have more time for this. So you need to consider all the options. What do you think? And yep, time's up. And Scrum has the product owner described, and the product owner is part of the Scrum team. We have the product owner, the Scrum master, and the development team. In disciplined agile delivery, we do have a product owner. XP has only a customer representative who has, as if you read the description of this customer representative who is working very closely to the development team, you will see that the role, it's very close to a product owner, but the name is just customer representative. And yes, in Kanban, you do not have a product owner because Kanban is not prescriptive as Scrum. In Kanban, you won't see a product owner or Scrum master. However, you can include in your Kanban approach this role as well. And the board owner that is described in Kanban, it's not the same thing like, as product owner. Okay, and now the last question, but not before seeing the leaderboard. So is Adi still leading? Let's see. Eti was the fastest, very close to Adi, but Adi is still leading the board. Okay, and the last question. You remember that we started with a quote, we end with a quote. So who do you think said, always pass on what you have learned? This should be easy. And 5 more seconds. 3, 2, 1. Oh, Yoda said it. But because Peter and Joanna agreed with Yoda, they will continue our presentation today by passing on what they learned. I was tempted to accept also a wise human being, but as you know, Yoda was not a human being, so this is why it's not there. So let's see the leaderboard, and then we pass the mic to Joanna and Peter. And it seems that, who was the fastest? Joanna was the fastest, but Eti won the competition today. So thank you all of you for contributing to this warm-up of our meetup today. I congratulate Etty and Elsa and Adi and all of you. And we move ahead with the presentation today. Peter, Joanna, the
Thank
floor
you
is
so
yours.
much. Thank you. This is fun. So I really enjoyed it. So thank you so much for this. So Peter, as we project our presentation, I was just thinking of maybe, I know you are very good at telling stories. Maybe we can start with telling the story of how you and I met and how we started to collaborate together for the invitees to basically get a sense of why we're doing this and what's our, how our experiences kind of got us together. Do you want to start? And then I'll add.
Oh, I'll let you start this time, Joanna.
Okay. So Peter and I met at University of Toronto. I've been teaching there since 2009, and I think it was 2018 that we started working together for a course that we were asked to develop. So we were in a room debating, the different topics and the different outcomes of the course, and I come from financial services. So my background was that I started in project management and then I transitioned to product development. So at some point in my career, they asked me to head a product development team. And this is when I had that aha moment that I've been managing projects throughout my career without understanding why I'm doing it. So because I was so busy in the trenches, dealing with all the checklists and all the processes of project management, I didn't realize, like at the end of the day, you're doing that for the customer, for the benefit of the customer, and you want to have the value. So as we were discussing about that, and as I was telling him my opinion, because this course was for project managers, Peter said yes, and think about the relationship with the strategy, because strategies basically are very important for the organization. The execution lacks that connection between strategies and products and projects and customer. So we started talking about it, and of course we incorporated some of our ideas into the course, but that's how our collaboration started. Then right away we got together and we decided to write the book. So we launched the book at the end of 2019. We had a lot of Romanian friends from Toronto here, and also, all our other friends, of course, and family supporting us. And since then, we've been teaching and talking at different events about product management, product ownership, strategy, customer value proposition. We've done some workshops for PMBA on how to actually build value proposition canvases and customer journey maps, and basically make those connections between the strategy, between the product and project and customer, and understanding those connections. So that's where we're coming from. And as Simona was saying, from an expectation perspective, not everything that you hear here is, cast in stone. We really want to get your opinion, how you're doing, how you're seeing this, and participate as much as possible in the discussion to get a feeling of how you feel about all this. Anything to add, Peter?
Just to sort of build a little bit on this is that as Simona mentioned, on the PMI board of directors, and we talked in PMI, continues to talk about how organizations need to be good at project management in order to implement their strategy. And I felt, as Joanna mentioned, that that's not the full story. Projects deliver products. It's products that actually help deliver the organization's strategy and deliver value to the customer. And I felt that PMI was missing that. And they still, to a certain degree, are, as they talk about, the importance of helping organizations transform and transition to different ways of doing things, which is very true. But that also means not just doing things, but the products and services that they deliver to their customers, and how important it is to be able to deliver value to customers and to be able to get the feedback from customers.
Yeah, and a little bit of a spoiler alert. The 7th edition of the PMBOK will include an addendum about the product management and product ownership. So we are looking forward to that, to see what they're coming up with. So that will be exciting.
Hopefully in 5 weeks. Anyway, Joanna, let's get into today's topic.
Perfect. So let's go through the agenda. And there is also like a quiz there for you. Where is this picture from? It's from Romania. So this is Peter's picture when he was in Romania. So you can put it in the chat, guess where it's from. So basically, we will again start with the big picture in terms of strategy and how strategies are implemented and executed, and what would be some of the challenges. Then we'll continue thinking about what customers actually want from our organizations, from our products, from our brands. What would be the value delivery proposition, and how we actually prioritize and together do an exercise for prioritization. And then we'll talk about product agility and how product ownership can help with the agility in the organization, and how project managers can benefit from that. So seeing the big picture of product lifecycle. So, so it is from Tivig. So yes, so that was my favorite place. Going there, I see a lot of boats and pedal boats. I miss that for sure. Okay, so now Peter, let's continue and think about the big picture. As we think about strategy, what is one of the things or many things that we want to focus on from a strategy implementation perspective?
Thank you, Joanna. And we live in a very interesting, very dynamic time. I suppose I should put interesting in quotes. That what we see now in today's world is that organizations are struggling. They're struggling as an organization is struggling to launch products and services. And some of the research that we did as we were preparing the book showed that there is a high amount of failure from organizations in launching new products and services. So Clayton Christensen, a professor at Harvard who passed away recently, did a study about 80% of new consumer products fail. Inza Blackburn, who is a professor at the University of Toronto, did a study showing that 70 to 80% of new grocery products fail. Castellon and Markham did a more thorough study, believing that the other work that they were reading was too high, and even their study showed that 40% of products are failing. And as I mentioned, it's not only products that are failing, it's companies that are struggling as well, and in some cases failing, such as Kodak and Sears, Blockbuster, and even BlackBerry, though it's not gone bankrupt yet, it is struggling. So this is remarkable. Why is this happening? What is making it so unique now that we're seeing so much of this going on? So, going the wrong way, aren't I? So one of the reasons, well, there are about 3 main reasons that we think and we will come to, and there's a variety and they're somewhat interrelated here as well. And, I'll quickly describe them and then we'll do another poll for you, see what you see is happening in your part of the world and your organization. So the first thing that we see is there's a much greater diversity and diversification in the world today. And that may be enabled by technology and the more easier movement of people. But certainly what we see is that the workplace is much more diverse. Our customers are much more diverse that we're organizations offering products and services to. And this is both good news and bad news, right? The good news is we have a lot of variety of customers out in the marketplace that we can have to deal with, and we can sell our product to. The bad news is they have different sense of what's value and what's not value. They have different ways of communicating to them what we have to understand. We are also faced with a rapid change of technology and technology disruptors. And we'll talk a little bit more about that on the next slide. But we've all seen how organizations have come in and basically really given an incumbent a really strong run for the money. Think about Blockbuster and Netflix coming into replacing them, and Amazon, taking over with companies like Sears, who were actually in the mail order business before Amazon came along, but Amazon understood how to use the internet to be able to be much more effective in helping to address problems and needs that customers have. And we also saw the taxi cab industry with Uber coming into it as a technology disruptor. So technology is so rapidly changing the ways that we do things now, and companies have to adapt to this and learn how to use this. And of course, this has been accelerated over the last year and a half with COVID, where companies have had to learn how to use technology differently than they had before, or maybe they were using it and weren't sure about it. They just were forced to make the changes. And speaking about Uber, I mean, the technology has also enabled new business models of how to run a business and how to function as a business in today's world, which was never possible before. And we'll talk about some examples of that as we go through the course. Again, Uber being an example, even Amazon and book publishing being another example of how business models have changed. So Simona, if you would be able to flip back to your Mentimeter, and let's go back here. And we've got the poll. We should have the poll available in the next slide. Do I have to stop sharing so you can start?
Yes, please. Yes. Okay, and we use the same code. So for those of you who are still on Menti, this it's working. And the question is.
So we're just looking to see which one of these challenges that your organization is experiencing today, or you're experiencing today, the most. I mean, I'm sure you're being impacted by all of them, but which ones are you impacted by the most in your organization? So it's interesting to see. I mean, disruptive technology was the one I expected more people to, but it's nice, interesting to see the diversity that is showing up, which is, again, sometimes we don't get many people seeing that. They're more focused on the technology or the new business models. Okay, any other comments here? Anyone else want to share?
And I guess also the technology is impacting business models as well. Sometimes you have to re-engineer your models because of technology.
Or technology allows you to introduce new models.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, Simona, thank you. Let's go back and we'll continue. Where am I here? Keep juggling things around. Okay, so why is this happening now? So we'll talk about a couple of reasons of why we're seeing this happening at this particular time, which is kind of a unique time in many ways. So the first was this idea of a new renaissance. This is a book that was published, Age of Discovery, Navigating the Storms of the New Renaissance by Ian Golden and Chris Kutana, that talked about the invention of the internet in 1992. They argue was as a radical change in the way society worked as the introduction of the printing press some 500 years earlier. And what basically they're suggesting is that the printing press changed from owning a book or having access to written words being extremely expensive and rare because it had to be handwritten, to make it generally available with the invention of the library. And the information and knowledge was much easily shared, which ultimately led, as part of the things that led into the Age of Discovery in the 1500s, the Renaissance that we talk about in the 1500s. And his argument was, the argument the authors make in the book was that the internet has raised that up another level. Because even with the printing press, you still had to own a printing press, and you had to still print and do the typesetting and so on. There was still some costs that were involved and some skills that were involved. But now with the internet, as you know, Joanna and I found out, to print our book, we self-published on Amazon. We didn't have to find a publisher. We didn't have to buy a printing press. It was all very easy. And that lowered the barrier of entry for sharing knowledge and information to people that was there before. And there's sort of wonderful things that are happening from it and things that maybe aren't so great either, as we've all heard the stories about social media. So that's one of the things that we have that's happening, that's causing this change in society right now. This whole idea of how the internet is changing everything that we're doing. Second is the industrial age, somewhat related to the internet. So Industrial Age 4.0, this graphic is trying to show that how we've gone through the first three. So back in the 1700s, started to use the power from steam or from water to help manufacture things and do things a little bit more intensive and heavier lifting than what we could do manually or with the power of animals. That lasted for about 100 years, and then we got into the late 1890s, where we had the mass manufacturing, the use of production line culminating, in partly due to electricity being generated from coal and other fuels. Also the work that was done by Frederick Taylor and Henry Ford in creating the production line to do the mass production of various things, cars as I show here and so on. And again, that went for about another 100 years or so. And then back in the 60s, hard to say, back in the 60s, we started to get robotics being introduced and becoming even more prevalent, removing human resources or humans from doing some of the repetitive manual work and replacing them with robots, which allowed for increased capacity, but also allowed for a little bit more standardization. But what started happening with the internet, so in 2000, was, and particularly the Internet of Things, where these machines, these robots became connected and could be adjusted to meet specific needs. So if I follow through the car example for a little bit, back in the early 1900s, Henry Ford famously said, you can have any color of car you want, referring to his Model T, as long as it's black. Where now with the fourth industrial age, you can actually show up at a car, well, on the website for that matter, and order your car and specify what colors you want and what features you want and what combinations. And the machines are all connected so that they will build your car, which is different than what my car would be. Within limits right now, but we'll see how long that lasts. So Joanna, can you maybe talk about what the third reason why this is happening in the fourth generation workforce?
Yeah, and I also wanted to mention that for the industrial revolutions, I was recently part of a debate, and there are lots of people talking about another revolution happening right now because of everything that's happening with the pandemic, pushing us into a different stage, like the way we interact, the way we do schooling, the way we do shopping, the way we even, like if you want to buy a house, you do this virtual real estate tours. And there is a lot of technology happening, but also from an interaction perspective, is that another revolution coming? So even after, 20 years, so that gap is shrinking more and more. And what's causing this, like what are these triggers that are causing a different revolution? So that's something to watch for. So in terms of the fourth generation workforce, I mean, we have these different generations. Like I had in my team, I had baby boomers. I was Gen X, so I'm born in '79, so almost at that, Gen X, Gen Y. I had Gen Y. I had millennials in my team, and it was very interesting to see the interaction between them. So I found that the baby boomers and the millennials got along the best. So they love to chat, they love to have those interactions, those discussions. So they acted also as mentors for the younger generations, and that was something that, from the social aspect, as also from a collaboration perspective, that was very well defined. But we also see from expectations perspective that definitely the Gen X and the Gen Ys are more focused on that balance between the life and the work. So the work-life balance is more important to them, to actually spend more time with the family, finding out, what their priorities are, more hiking rather than, staying late at work. And very interesting, because even these generational gaps that we have been flattened a little bit during the pandemic. I think a lot of people are discovering what's important to them. I read an article the other day saying that a lot of millennials and Gen Ys are basically going to resign in mass. So many of them leaving the workforce and deciding to do more entrepreneurial work, or work from, I don't know, the countryside, moving from the big urban areas to more of the rural areas and farms and so on. And that would be something to watch for. But it's interesting. We have these four generations working together at this point in time for the first time since we recorded how we work.
Yes, and it's not that we have not had multiple generations, it's the fact there's four, and how different that they are, as Joanna outlined. So bringing this together, and I mentioned this a little bit at the beginning, around this idea of a strategy implementation circle, of how, as organizations, we have to think about this continuous evolution of our strategy. Now, organizations generally are very good at developing a strategy, and if they're not, someone will be more than glad to help them out. And out of a strategy, you develop strategic objectives of what you want to achieve in the nearer term, and you'll start formulating strategic initiatives. Well, strategic initiatives are just projects by another name. So we have projects that deliver products. And what we're going to show throughout the rest of the presentation is this idea that products is what delivers value to customers, and the feedback from customers will determine whether or not the organization has achieved the benefits they expected from their strategic initiative. The feedback that they get about achieving benefits or not provides input into their strategy. If you've achieved the benefits, then you want to figure out what the next step is. If you haven't achieved the benefits, then you have to rethink your strategy or rethink your objectives, change and adjust based on the feedback so that you can move forward. So it's this idea of a circle and continuously going around, but it's really hinged on delivering products and getting feedback from customers. So I want to share a brief example of this with you around Infarm. I don't know if any of you have heard of Infarm or not. They're a German-based company that started in Berlin. There were 3 fellows who, I guess, were contemplating the troubles of the world and wondering how we can feed the world's population by taking advantage of farming in urban centers, and how to do it in a more sustainable, cost-effectively, and more importantly, environmentally friendly way. So back in 2012, they founded Infarm as a company that would create these little, you can see on the left-hand side of the screen, these vertical farming that would run in urban centers. So they initially put one into their apartment buildings where they could test it out. So their idea was they wanted to get their units, their farms, installed into 100 stores within 3 years. So to do that, they started their product. They started a project. Well, I guess with that objective, they were able to get a contract with Metro, a large German grocery chain. I apologize. I think someone forgot to clear the timing from the PowerPoint slide, Joanna. That would be me. not Joanna, she's fine. So that they had a project with Metro to install their farms into the grocery stores. And Metro is a grocery chain in Germany. So they proceeded to go ahead and do this, and their product that they were installing were these stackable units that could control with moisture and light to grow various vegetables and herbs and so on. They were also connected by an app to a phone so that you could monitor them and control them remotely as well. And they would also be able to provide the appropriate nutrient in the water that they had. So they were very successful in installing the farms and delivering value to both Metro as a store with their scalable units so they could be added or removed, their ability to have local seeds and thus local food, but also to Metro customers. So based on this value that they were to deliver, they received some positive feedback. They got 200 in-store farms that were done within the 3 years. They got a lot of Instagram followers, over 14,000, which is the time put them in the top 10% of Instagram followers. And based on that, Infarm got a benefit of being able to raise $100 million US in venture capital funding, which allowed them to expand outside of Germany and in fact, all the way around the world. And in fact, someone's asking, I really think it could be, I'm misreading the note here. Yes, already around the world, they have some units in Canada and other countries around the world. So this shows this idea of how you can have a strategy, but it's actually through the product that you will be able to deliver the strategy. Okay, so Joanna, let's build on this a little bit and focus in, well, what do we think customers really want?
Yes, and before we do that, did you see that? Are you seeing those in-farm products in metros in Romania or not really? These are more like those greenhouses where they grow these products. I was just curious if they have it in Romania in Metro as well.
There is a comment from Diana Bejliu that they are indeed in Metro.
Okay, okay, perfect. Because I know they were having a B2B model, so they were selling to businesses, but they were also selling to customers. So they started with B2B and then they continued with B2C, so selling directly to customers. So if I had a membership with Metro and I wanted something like that, I could purchase directly. I didn't have to be a business to do it. So they would sell it to you, basically. So just curious. So let's think a little bit about products. So now let's switch and think about, like when we think about Apple, and Apple comes to mind, like the big Apple. What do we think about? And, you can put it in the comments, you can enable your microphone, you can do like any comments. What is the first thing that comes to your mind when I say Apple?
Overpriced and great design.
Different innovation, user experience, communication, good design. I mean, I'm an Apple customer. I've been an Apple customer from the beginning. I don't know if I continue to be. I do think they are overpriced. So that's something else that I'm thinking about when I think about Apple. But basically, there are two things when we think about brands and we think about companies. We definitely think more about their products. And we've seen over the years that we thought we never think about their projects. And I don't care how Apple actually manages their projects, and if they have a risk checklist, and if they have, project constraints, and the type of methodology they use. Like, I never ask about these things, because what I want to see features. I want to see functionality. I want to see quality. I want to see all these aspects around products as I buy those products. And I think the same thing, that on the same line that you're thinking here, like, we care about user design, and experience, and we care about innovation, and what type of technology, what type of functions, what type of features, and especially what type of features are solving our problems or our needs. Because if we have a problem, and for example, the biggest problem that we had was photography. So we wanted to have this device that can take instant pictures, and we don't have to carry the big, heavy, cameras with us. So I have a big camera. I never take it with me when hiking, because I don't know where to put it. Like, I need a special bag and all that, and with 3 kids and snacks and everything, like, it's very hard to do that. So those are the things that customers care about. And everything that's happening inside from a project perspective is of no importance to them. And we have to figure these things out in order to deliver products, but customers don't care about projects and don't care about methodology and approaches and how we do things. So that's basically what we wanted to think about here, how we link the products to the customers.
We can look at another example for IKEA. If we think about IKEA, and what they do. So Joanna, what do you think IKEA's unique feature is?
So the first thing that comes to mind, and my kids love that, is their Swedish meatballs. So definitely they love it. What about you?
Well, I think about their fabulous Allen wrench, of how everything can be assembled with just this one Allen wrench. Is there another feature you think about, Joanna?
Yeah, so I always like their layout and how everything comes together. I don't know if anyone agrees. I know IKEA, my mother-in-law is a frequent shopper in Romania from IKEA. After she discovered it here, she's going there all the time. So she loves to go around and actually see how things are arranged. And, they have these layouts predetermined, and they give you ideas for sure.
Yeah, and I always look for the shortcut on the layout. I'm always amazed by their instructions, of how they have these instructions with minimal words on them. Sometimes I'm frustrated by it when I install them, but certainly I can, it's amazing how they do the diagrams to help you assemble their products together. Is there another feature, Joanna?
I think the other thing is the playground. So I love the ball pit, as they call it. They're so my 3 kids all love that playground. So we drop them there, and then we can go shopping. Worries free. IKEA takes care of them.
Which is great. And, and thinking about going shopping, it's interesting how much time and effort they spend on their packaging, and how they've got things packaged to try to minimize waste and optimize the design of the package. I think it's very, very unique how they've done that. And maybe one more, Joanna.
Yeah, and I like also, like, we recently bought a kitchen. So the fact that everything is modular and you can fit it, and then later on, if you decide to take one part and replace it with something else, you can do it. So I think they're thinking from that design perspective as changes that are coming. So that's what I think about. I like about them, because they are adaptable. So I don't get bored with their designs. I can always mix and match.
So IKEA has really worked really hard on trying to get their products to focus on customers. And as I said right before, that projects deliver products. So we need to remember, this is what the link is between The product goes to the customer, the project delivers the product. And we need to think about how we do this and how we deliver value to the customer. And that value can come through the product itself, but it also can come through how we execute the project, whether it's meeting schedules that we have to make sure we get the product to the customer on time. We talked earlier about price with Apple. So the way the product is built, the way we build it, the way we construct it in our project, are we able to construct it in a way that we minimize waste in order to allow us to have a price that reflects the value that's being delivered? And the team, the knowledge that the team gets and how that is shared with customers and continues to be shared with customers also becomes an important element of how projects can enable value to be delivered to customers. So it's important for us to think about this as we go along as project managers. Now, value is kind of like quality. It's one of those things that we need our customers to tell us if they're receiving value or not. And so part of this idea of product ownership is to make sure we have the ability to get feedback from our customers. Feedback that tells us if we are meeting their needs, if we are delivering value or not. And as I mentioned, right, the feedback that we're going to get is not only on the features of the product, but it can be around the whole ecosystem of what we provide to the customer, how they go and select the product. That's why one of the reasons we picked IKEA, as Joanna mentioned, how her mother-in-law likes seeing the furniture in a room-size setting like she would have at home. How we package the product, as I mentioned in the case of IKEA, is the packaging something that will be reflective of the product and be eco-friendly. Matter of fact, Apple spends a lot of time talking about their packaging to try to supplement and enhance the experience of the actual product that you're getting. So we need to, and of course, a service. And one of the experiences that we've had with many companies is if there's a problem with our product, right? How do we treat it? How we treat it when we try to reach out to our company and report our concern and how that we dealt with on that. So that can become all part of the value experience that we're delivering to customers. Okay? So it's a loop, right? So we deliver value, we get feedback from the customer, which allows us to identify where we can add in additional value to our customers. So Joanna, let's explore a little bit more detail about value delivery.
I think we all are friends with Amazon these days. So during the lockdown, I think Amazon was my best friend to shop for everything. So many months ago, I had a great conversation with the product owner from Shopify, and said something very interesting to me and said, "Oh, go and see, search on internet, Jeff Bezos' famous cycle napkin sketch." Because that's something that he drew with his team at the beginning, and basically they follow through. When the team asked him, "Okay, so what do you see as growth at Amazon, Jeff?" And basically he drew quickly for them, and you can see there like the major pieces that he thought that would bring Amazon to the path of success. And these are things that some of them we put them here, as comments that we look for that into a product, like the customer experience, like the selection that they have, the price, and how that low cost structure is actually bringing it back to growth. Because if you have happy customers, then they will come back. So they weren't interested in basically asking for a lot and make that profit margin. They were interested in having the low prices so the customers come back and they buy from them more and more. And whenever you are searching for a lower price, you always go on Amazon because you know that they have competitive prices. And this is something that created that culture, of how we make money inside Amazon. And then their products are really aligned, so you have the same experience across. So we had the experience with the Amazon books because we published our book through them. And basically what we realize is that not only that they have the standard inventory where they have all these books that they approve. So it's not that you can have any book there. So they basically go, you go if you want to write a book through an approval process. But they also have what they call just-in-time inventory. So basically printing based on demand. So not keeping a lot of inventory on the shelves and not, people don't want any of those products, but basically publishing these books, like printing them as customers are demanding them, so are buying. And then they had also this partnership with third-party sellers. So sometimes you order from Amazon, but it's getting shipped from other areas or from other sellers as well. So they partner a lot with third parties. So this is a model that it's really sustainable for them, and that's why they continue to make a lot of money. And they got into the pharmaceutical industry recently. So in US, they're running this pilot on delivering medicine to people and fulfilling receipts and, trying to basically get there and see how they can compete with the pharmacies. So.
Yeah, so Maria's made a comment about the low price on Amazon when you consider the individual delivery. So this, I think, goes back to thinking about business models, think about the cost structure involved in running a bricks and mortar store and warehousing and shipping and supplying and all the staff. So it's interesting how Amazon can do an individual delivery with lower cost than running a retail chain and distributing out from there. So interesting. Yeah. Okay, Joanna, so let's just continue here and maybe look at this loop of value and feedback again through our example of publishing a book.
Yeah, so I think I alluded a little bit about that, in terms of how we managed to do that through Amazon. So as we are going through that example, but the major thing for us was to go out with a book that was pretty baked out. So we kind of finished it in 6 weeks or 7 weeks. That was maximum time that we spent on it. And basically what we wanted to do is follow that minimum viable product concept that we kept talking about it. Okay, so we put it in the hands of the customers. It's a finished product, so it has all the components there that a customer can actually benefit from. And then we would get constant feedback. So of course, the first thing, like after we published it, we got a lot of feedback from people reading the book and saying, oh, what about this? What about that? So we continue to iterate on the book based on that feedback. So you can see even in this loop, right? So we get customer feedback, we make the changes, we produce more value for the customers, they provide feedback more, and so on. So we got, after a year and a half after we published the book, I think we got it to, in a good shape. Now it's time for another revamp, as we're thinking about it, because that's exactly what's happening out there on the market. Like, you need to have that flexibility to change your products based on customer expectations. And as the customers' expectations are changing, the products are changing as well. So that's the cycle that we wanted to show here. So now let's connect a little bit the dots. I know we did a lot of talking. I promise you that there is an exercise coming. Don't go away. So basically what we wanted to show you, we started with strategy and how we depict the strategy in the organization. Then we talked about the customer value and what it generates, because strategies are about making things better. And especially for the customers, we want more growth. We want our customers to grow. We want our customers to come back and buy more and more for us in order to, make a profit and continue to grow. And how we do that is directly linked to the products. And then in order to deliver those products, we need those projects and programs that, those will be the endeavors that we get there. Sometimes we continue with longer time projects, in product teams, depending on the organization. And that rolls up again into portfolios, and that could be portfolios of products or portfolios of projects and programs, like some organizations are structured. So depending on the structure of the organization, there is this concept right now of portfolios of products. So many organizations, especially here in Canada, financial services, they are starting to be structured based on portfolios of products and managing their funding through value streams. So identifying those streams of value that come into their organization through the portfolios and basically approving their initiatives based on those streams of value. So very interesting concept that we see happening. So I alluded a little bit earlier in terms of the how we build, the best product and how we did it with the book. And I wanted just to introduce that minimum viable product concept. And I thought these pictures will resonate with you. So having this, how we did it before was having this Swiss Army pocket knife components, all of them at once, right? Because the fear was that we would never get funding to do anything else. So we were trying to cram everything into that first release and have the customers, have everything to soup to nuts. And the statistics showed that 65% of the features on applications were not used by customers. So a lot of waste there. And if you look at this Swiss Army pocket knife, like you can see, like, do we need everything in there? Is that, like a great tool to have and, fit in your pocket if you're going camping or somewhere? So the idea was to actually get that minimum. And a lot of organizations are realizing that 80% of their customers, they use mostly one or two features. And how do you identify that? So there are all these techniques that you can do it, from value proposition canvases to different tools that will show you what will be those features that if you give them to the customers, you cover that 80% of the needs of the customers. So the 80-20 rule, right? So, and then you can basically start with that and see what they think about it. And you continue to grow over time, add more features, if we need the nail clipper more, or if we need, open bottles, like if we go somewhere where we want that, if we want any other type, like, I don't know what we have there, scissors and, bottle openers and anything for that matter that will make us more, will satisfy our needs and make us happier. So to continue on the same note from an MVP perspective, Peter, what would be some of the characteristics of the minimum viable product?
I think the MVP concept is a very key one in today's world, to be able to start getting value earlier from your customers and deliver value earlier to your customers and get feedback from your customers. So the first thing is you need to ensure the product delivers value. You have to know that you are going to deliver some value to your customers, maybe not as much, but at least some value to them. So from that, you also have to make sure that the value delivered will translate to benefits for your organization, whether it be the customers will buy the product, whether they'll recommend the product, whether you'll be able to improve productivity internally. You have to at least recognize that you're going to get the benefits that you want to allow you to achieve your strategy. Third, we want to make sure the product will avoid waste. We want to try to minimize waste both in the production of the product, but also in our customers using the product. Next, we want to be early adopters and get the feedback to make sure that, in fact, we are delivering value, right? So and we can attract customers with the value that we have in place. And lastly, we want to ensure that we focus on the value proposition. It is so easy to get distracted by feedback that a specific customer would give or someone would give that's not even a customer, say, oh, that's a neat feature, let me add it. No, go back to the fundamental of how are we delivering value to our customers? Are we meeting needs? You know, the idea is of the persona you're focused on and the very specific value, to stay focused on that until you start getting a collection of feedback that's saying, no, we're in the right place or we're in the wrong place, we need to change. So we need to make sure that we always are delivering value and get that feedback and use that feedback as a way to add more value to our customers. So Joanna, let's take our group here through a nice little exercise to show about how we can develop an MVP and then build on that.
Yes, and we know this has been a controversial picture for many years, you know, in terms of the idea of the MVP and how the MVP comes together. And a lot of us have argued, you know, is that really what we're doing at work and how is that connected? And I've tried this exercise by now kind of like 20, 25 times. So it would be very fun, you know, a lot of fun to see what you think about this. But as we mentioned and Peter mentioned, one of the biggest characteristics is to get something into the hands of the customer that is functioning. So it is something that customers can actually try out. So it's not this idea, and we can use the same example with the pocket knife. It's this idea of being able to have a product, because that's the idea of the MVP. You still have a product, it has only those minimum features that you can actually try out, but it doesn't mean it's just one feature. So with one feature you cannot try it out. So if we want to get real feedback, it needs to be a product that they can use. So in this example, we're looking at Lisa, who is basically trying to get a transportation vehicle. And she's not saying what that transportation vehicle, so she's not using a name for that transportation vehicle. And she has a requirement to take her from home to work. We don't know like how far, we don't know if it's a windy road, we don't know if it's a flat surface, we don't know a lot of that. But basically, you know, sometimes customer requirements come like that, you know, very vague, and we have to ask the questions. But if we are assuming that she's looking for that transportation vehicle, we want to give her something quickly. And of course, you know, as she lives close to her workplace and she's single, what can we give her? So choose 5 letters, you know, that represent this either features or products that will meet her needs, and applying that MVP concept that we've been talking about. So think MVP and think about meeting her needs.
Okay, so thank you for those who are entering the letters. Remember, you get 5 letters.
Perfect. So anyone wants to enable their microphone and discuss, you know, why they chose the letters and what was the rationale? We can have a good discussion here. And again, there are no right and wrong answers. It's just that, you know, what you thought about.
I can try.
Perfect. Thank you, Bogdan.
I choose C, A, I, E, and G.
Perfect.
So
Okay.
I started with the easy one, with the skateboard, to see if it's enough to go to the work. Then maybe if the distance it's a little longer, I switch to I don't know how to call it in English, the A one.
A scooter.
A scooter.
Yeah.
Then if that's not enough, switch to the bicycle. Then if the distance is even longer and maybe it's harder to, it's uphill or so, try the motorcycle. And at the end, if none of those work or good enough, try one of the cars. So
Right.
G because it's summer and it's very hot.
I know. And you see that's the entire rationale, right? So my son, he's 17. He would love C first and he would be so happy. Like it's going to be the cheapest version for him. Cheap, quick, take him quickly from one place to another, like that would be maybe, a happy customer. And we see that happening with some organizations. They start with something, and as they add features, they charge for those features, right? So if you want more, they will say, okay, so now you're going to have to get more money to pay them. So thank you so much for sharing. So that's the whole idea that we were trying to communicate, like get something out there to them. See how it works, get feedback. If they want a steering wheel, add a steering wheel. If they want something else, and in the end, we gave, for you, Bogdan, that was, the convertible. So it wasn't even, the full, I don't know, Cadillac car with, a super engine and, powerful engine and so on.
Maybe bus tickets would be enough for Bogdan.
So we'll start there. Yes, that's good.
I will stick with the convertible.
Yeah. So the other thing that we wanted to do with you, so we want to do an exercise on prioritization. So you can see, like the whole idea of prioritizing that MVP and what's going to come first. So as we have all these ideas coming through the funnel in the organization, the product owner is responsible to prioritize those items with the team and basically build what's going to be the first release, the second, the third, and so on. So the MVP would be that first release. And in order to do that, there is an entire discussion on prioritization, and it's based on business value and the complexity. So what business value is actually giving to the business? So solving some needs for the customers. And then what would be the complexity? Because if the technology team or other team who is supposed to make that happen think that it's too complex, they cannot do it, they don't have the capacity, they don't have the skills, then we can wish for these features, but they will not happen. So that's what we want to do with you in the next exercise, and do a breakout that put you in breakout rooms. And basically what you have here, you have a set of features. So you have 5 features. We assigned already the business value and the complexity for you, so you don't have to define that. And then what we would like you to do in these breakout rooms, have that discussion. The first thing may be split between the business and the technology. So you play either the product owners and the technology. So if it's 4 of you, to our business, to our technology, and then decide, like have that conversation, why it's important to you, and selling it to technology. And then technology, if they are comfortable to do it, they will say, okay, perfect. And then put the dots there. So you have the dots in terms of voting, and see which one you will do first and which one you will do second. So each person should have 3 dots. So I think we decided, Peter, that we will have 5 people in a breakout room. That's why we have 5 sets of dots.
Well, I wasn't sure how many. We can do 4 or 5, Joanna. It doesn't matter. We've got 25 people. So I guess maybe we do 5. That gives us 5 people per group.
Yes. So what we want you to do is do the dot voting, right? So assign your dots to the top 3 priorities that you consider you could do, both from a business and a technology perspective. So business value and complexity.
So I'm not sure it's Daniela or Simona, which are
Yes, I'm here.
controlling controlling the breakout rooms. So maybe you could just randomly put us into 5. What did we said? We said 5. Let's go
Yeah,
with
5.
5. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
so
yeah,
let's randomly
five.
get us to 5 breakout rooms, trying to make sure that the 5 of us, you know, the colors and projects, and Joanna and I are not part of the teams.
Yes, yes.
So please take the QR code and the mirror or the link in Miro. I've got it as a short link here, although very untypable. You'll go to a mural board where you can, the group number that you go in, and there's a section for each group where this example is shown with this, Joanna mentioned the dots, okay?
Okay, I will start the rooms right now.
Daniela, first, it would be easier if we share the link now through the chat window.
Okay,
And
I can do that. Yeah.
okay.
That's a good idea. Thank you. Sorry, I've got to get my act together here. Oh, right, because you want me to join a group. There we go. That's my problem. Finally, he gets it done. There's the link.
Okay, so now you can join your breakout room. Let's see. Delia. Lucian. Monica. Federico. You can hear us?
How much time did we give them?
You didn't. I think we're trying for 5 minutes.
Yes.
Yeah, you can put the timer in the mural if.
Okay, thank you. Yes. That's right. I remember I saw I could do that. Now I have to remember. There's a timer.
Daniela, do we have the link?
Da, te rog, ia-l din chat. It's in the chat. Peter put the link in the chat.
I'm having the chat open and I'm not seeing the link.
Okay, I will put again. Now?
Yes.
Okay. So I will go to the other teams to
Please
put the
check.
link if it's needed, okay? And I will be back. Delia, you want to join your team, please? Your room 4. You are on mute, Delia?
Nu, unmute. Mă auzi?
Da, da.
Deci mi-a dispărut chestia aia cu join. A apărut și pe aia a dispărut. Cred că am avut o problemă de conexiune. Nu știu dacă am intrat în room.
Ok, o secundă că mă cheamă cei de la echipa 5. O secundă.
Da.
Hello,
Daniela,
hello.
bună!
Da, bună.
Noi
Scuze.
suntem aici, siguri? Nu trebuie să fim 5?
Da, din păcate, câțiva dintre participanți au dat leave la meeting. Vă las aici în chat linkul respectiv de mural despre care v-a vorbit Peter și Joanna. Sper că îl vedeți.
Da.
Ok. Și trimit imediat un coleg de-al meu cu voi, bine?
Da, e perfect. Mersi.
around.
So I'm back. Peter and Joanna, you will go to your room, breakout room, just to be there for 1 minute or no?
Yeah, I was just wondering if we should or not. I'm not seeing a lot of the votes, the dots being put where I expected them.
Yes, some of the people's already, they are not in the meeting. So we have room 1 with 5 people with Bogdan, our trainer. Room 2 with 5 people and Simona. Room 3 with 5 people and Sanziana, our trainer. And unfortunately, room 4 and 5 are just 2 and 3 people in every team.
So how do I go to the room?
So I already give
Yeah, I know, and I got that note and I ignored it because I was trying to get the
Yes, I know that the message disappeared. 1 minute to figure out. 1 minute, please.
And which group do you think I should go to, 4 or 5?
So let's see. I don't know how to give you again the button, but it's okay. I was in the room 5 and I will go in the room 4 to give them the link, okay?
Yeah, I think you probably have to make me a co-host or something for me to move.
Let's see, move.
But you go and check. We really, what do we got? We've only got less than a minute left anyway.
Yeah, it's okay. I will go in the room 4.
Okay, thank you.
Opa, suntem filmați.
Scuze, nu știam dacă ați reușit să luați linkul de atunci din colul principal.
Am dat link-ul mai departe, dar o vreme un pic am povestit între noi că așteptam să mai apară încă 2 persoane. Nu știu de ce am reținut.
Da, din păcate au mai renunțat la meeting și atunci...
E în regulă, e în regulă. Când se termină, Daniela?
Adică cred că mai aveți 1 minut sau mai aveți 1 minut, da.
A 6 secunde? Am înțeles, deci suntem pe val.
Mai aveți nevoie, mă duc să-i spun lui Peter să vă mai dea 1 minut dacă este.
Nu că, da, 1 minut, da.
Nu-i nimic, întorceți-vă voi, bine? Bine, când doriți. So, Peter, I think that we need to...
Yeah, the timer's gone up, so
1 more minute for
give them the 1 minute notice and let's bring them back.
Yeah, just put the timer in the mural, please, for everyone to see the time.
Oh, well, I already had the timer set for 5 minutes and that's gone off. So I'll set it, I'll give them another minute.
Yes. They need 1 minute more.
I thought we froze the panes.
We
not the whole thing.
We didn't freeze the whole pane, right? Because we were concerned about them not being able to move the dots.
Okay. Yeah, I got it.
Okay, time's up. So let's bring them back. Daniela.
I will close the breakout rooms right
Yes,
now.
please.
Thank you.
Are you seeing the mural boards, Joanna?
Yes.
Okay. I mean,
Hello?
on the screen?
Yep.
Yeah, okay.
So very good. I mean, I can see a lot of prioritization. So anyone wants to share how the discussions went and some of the things that you identified through the discussions, through the exercise?
We are waiting one more team in the meantime.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, I don't think we quite have everyone back yet, so.
Okay.
No. But they will be here in 5 seconds.
They're all having so much fun, which is good to see.
Yes. Let me know when everybody's back.
We are back. Room
Yes, yes.
4.
All the teams are here.
Perfect. So I hope you had a little bit of fun. Sorry for moving the panes. We didn't want to freeze them because the dots were inside. So we were hoping that that didn't cause a lot of pain. But anyone wants to share from your team's perspective what you did, how the conversation went, like what were some of the discussions that you had in terms of prioritizing and focusing on how you came up with priorities? For example, group 2, I see that you're very organized and you definitely identified, like 3 features, the view trip, the share trip, and update points number. So how did you come up with that?
Well,
You
first of
missed
all,
only one. You missed only one bullet there. So.
Well, it was quite funny because the orange bullet disappeared. So we borrowed them from another group. We had a discussion about the meaning of update points number. We couldn't identify what feature would it be. But we also had a discussion in the group. I think Adi was the one who said that it's easier to deal with the complexity. So we need to consider the business value, because the complexity can be decreased, but the business value, it's important. And this is why we do have points also for, or bullets actually. We prioritize the last feature as well, although we didn't understand what is the feature.
Okay.
But mainly, yes, we considered the business value.
So these are great discussions, and usually that's why we have them with the product owner, because the product owner will actually know the insights of that feature. And if they don't know, they would go and look for information, or they would ask other stakeholders or business owners. So these are the type of discussions that we want to have during this exercise to prioritize. And it's always that, like I've been through these sessions, and it's like call a friend, find out what's going on, who should know, the customer service, or let's call them, who's in there. So it's a fun, but also like it requires a lot of information gathering. So thank you so much for.
Sorry, Joanna. Yeah, and hopefully find an exercise, but we have to move on. Time is not our friend, as always, Joanna. So let's talk a little bit about what effective product ownership looks like.
Yes, and it's on the same lines, right? The product owner basically owning the not only these discussions, but also like what are the fundamental features, what are the details of those features. But we thought that we should summarize in terms of ownership what what product ownership is and what would be some of the characteristics. So definitely having the pride in owning that product and the features, and talking about them and just showcasing them. The power is very important for decision making. Promoting the product. So whenever we own something, we want to do a little bit of advertising for that product because it's ours. So we feel that, we are entitled to do it. Protecting it and taking care of it, and also showing the passion. So I want to see product owners that are passionate about their products, and that, all these other caring and making decisions around them coming through. So maybe, Peter, we can go through the differences between product owners and product managers. I know that's an interesting topic.
It is, and we're finding that these titles are used interchangeably at times. Different organizations have different views of what they are, and we are increasingly trying to think about this idea of ownership, whether the ownership is held by a product owner, someone with the title product owner, or product manager, or product leader, or product director, or even a business analyst or a business owner doesn't really matter. But the basic idea between the two is that we see that product owners typically will look at, if you like, more of being part of work in a team of people, look at specifically the product backlog, as Simona's question talked about at the beginning of this meetup. They can be part of a particular functional group or department in an organization, and they'll look at getting the user stories, get them into shape, and put them in the product backlog, and then putting them into releases. Much more of the Scrum view of what a product owner will look like. Product managers, on the other hand, may be working more of at a higher level, more of a business function, looking at this idea, as Joanna mentioned, a portfolio of products, trying to manage them in a group of products, trying to meet needs of customers. And we can think of many organizations, that Procter & Gamble being one that does a good job of this, where they will define the segments of where their products being addressed, and look at the ownership across the entire product lifecycle. And product managers may also be much more involved in the marketing and looking at the 4 P's of marketing: price, product, place, and promotion. But for organizations to focus on products to deliver their strategy, they need to encompass both sides of this and focus on the true product ownership. So let's delve a little bit more, Joanna, into what the roles of product owner or product ownership, a person who has the role of a product ownership, should look at in an organization.
Yeah, so we see a lot of shifts, and also we see at least here in America, there is a little bit of confusion in terms of the role of business analysts continuing in Scrum teams, and if it's really needed. We get a lot of questions around that, and it's kind of that normal projection that if you are a business analyst, like you can transition into a product owner role. We also see a lot of project managers in Agile projects moving into a product owner role because they don't want to go into a Scrum Master role. The Scrum Master being a little bit more simplified, not managing the budget, not managing the stakeholders, and those activities and those they move to the product owner. So that's why project managers, if they have the business acumen and they have the business knowledge, they want to transition into a product owner role. And definitely the project managers can transition into a product management role if they were involved in a program. So we see program managers going to product managers or even portfolio managers. So a lot of shifts happening there. I think Agile created a little bit of that restructuring from a role perspective. But again, for each of these, we need to think about how we build the skills and what type of skills we need in order to make the transition. So why should we care as project managers, Peter?
Good question. And I think clearly we should care. And we'll just wrap up with a couple of thoughts around around this. So first is that as project managers, we need to care about the product that we're creating. We want to make sure that that product aligns with the strategy of the organization, that it is something that will help the organization achieve its strategy, whether it be looking at making the organization more effective and more efficient, whether it's helping the organization adjust its strategy to deliver more products and service. And of course, being aligned to strategy helps motivate the product team and the project team to work on our product. But we also want to make sure for the product that we are delivering value to the customer, that we have the features that are being included in the product are those features that are needed by the customer, not just wishes or wants, that we get feedback from the customer on whether they're satisfied with the product and the features we have, and whether it meets their quality expectations. And of course, understand how that feedback will translate into benefits for the organization. So this is becoming increasingly more and more important for project managers to understand, why is the company investing in this product, your project to deliver this product. Okay? And we're seeing this in PMI in their talent triangle, where they introduced the strategic and business management part of the third side of the triangle. So saying to us as project managers, yes, you need to know the technical skills to be a project manager. Yes, you have to have great leadership skills, but you also need to understand the business and how the business is going to be successful and what part the product of your project plays in doing that. So as project managers, I think we're going to see more and more focus by our organizations asking us, why is this product being done? Is the product going to not only be on time, on budget, on scope, but be able to deliver value to the customers and ultimately benefits to the organization? So I think it is important, Joanna, that as project managers, we understand what the product's doing and understand the role of product ownership in our organization, and make sure that our products, when we complete them as our project, do continue their journey, do continue following a product roadmap, have someone who will own them and continue to monitor that feedback we get back from customers. So let's just wrap up with thinking about some of the key trends that we're seeing in product management right now.
Yeah, so at least these are trends in North America. So it'll be very interesting, to compare what you're seeing in Europe. But we definitely see more connections between organizations and customers. With customers are coming into the review sessions for the teams to actually provide feedback. So that's a great trend that's going on there. I have review sessions every sprint, for example, with users and customers. So we're not afraid to reach out to customers anymore. We see that there is a specialization of product roles, not only from a certification perspective, but that trend continues, for people to specialize in product ownership and product management and portfolio management. And when we're thinking about portfolio management, it's the portfolio of products. We definitely see a rise of product owner roles. So if we check, Indeed.com or any other sites for searching for jobs, so job engine searches, we see that it's basically an increase of about 40%. So these are things that are definitely visible. The product owners, are gaining momentum there. And there was that question, for the Kanban approach. If we're using, like in my organization, as we work today, we use the role of the product owner as that backlog or board owner, because we do feel that the product owner prioritizes the backlog and everything, and it's the role that exists. So we can see that these product owners, even in waterfall projects, are starting to appear. And then we have product management tools like Mural and others, facilitating this work from home trends. So this is another trend happening. Working from home gave us the ability to use these tools. And then we see that digital products are still continuing to be the key to business growth, as a lot of the products we have today are being used online. So I'm not sure if you're seeing the same thing or different things, or you have any comments around that. So definitely looking for your input and comments, and you know, we thank you so much for the session tonight, and please keep in touch. And don't be strangers. I mean, we put some contact information here, but you can reach out to Simona as well, and she can reach to us, and definitely hoping that we can have further discussions if you need any other type of information, anything. So we are here to offer you. And again, a quick quiz. Where is this picture from?
Is this the ratio of
Bran?
Yeah, it's the Bran Castle. Castelul Bran. Yes. Thank you.
And once again, I took the picture.
Yes, Peter took the picture. He's very proud of that. So thank you again.
Yes, thank you very much.
you.
We have a few minutes.
you as well.
I think we have a few minutes for questions before we turn it back to Simona to wrap up. If anyone has any questions or comments.
I do have a question. Do you think that the role of the project manager will be replaced in the future by a product manager, a product owner? Sorry.
So I'll respond, and then Peter, of course, you know, you can add your 2 cents. I know there is a sensitive topic here. So what I'm seeing, especially in financial services where I work, we no longer call the teams project teams. If it's an agile project, we call them agile teams. We avoid the word project, because we think that the agile teams are persistent, they are longer time, and they are there for the full life cycle of the product. So this is a trend that is happening here again. So giving up that project word. Now, I think there is a long way to replacing project managers, if ever happens, with product owners. I do see the project manager role continuing to be strong. So if we look again for these jobs searches by title, we still see project managers coming up strong. So I wouldn't predict, but I think if the trend continues to be more on those product teams, it is possible that the product owner will take some of those accountabilities. But then we have the Scrum Master, we have the Flow Master, we have the Service Delivery Manager, we have all those other titles that are doing that project management role. So that's just my 2 cents. Your thoughts, Peter?
Sure. So I think in some cases we will see organizations move away from project managers, especially when they follow much more of a continuous delivery cycle where they're using an iterative product development approach with rather short iterations. So they have, because what organizations will realize to be successful, they need to have some person or group own the product. Call it whatever you want. But so if you're doing rapid small projects, it doesn't make sense to have a separate project team and product team. It's going to be a product manager to, as Joanna said, to follow that product throughout the life cycle. On the other hand, when you're doing major infrastructure projects that go on for multiple years, then it will make sense to have project managers in place that to take and build that project, that product, because it's very unique, very specific, requires skills and coordinations. So I think there's going to be a role for both, but the key is that organizations are going to start realizing that they need to have someone worrying about the product and the full product life cycle. Okay, any other questions? Yeah, so I guess there's a confusion about the titles. Absolutely. And I think there's going to be increasingly confusion about titles, what they are. And again, we're trying to focus our thinking now on this idea of ownership, of someone who will ensure that value is being delivered to customers and getting feedback back from customers. Long-term success. What happens in the back room, what you do with the feedback in terms of prioritizing it, adding new features, and how you get that out, that may be up to sectors or companies how they want to define their way of doing that. But the point is that if you're not listening to customers, if you're not worrying about if your product's delivering value, you're going to be setting yourself up for failure. Okay, any other questions or comments at all?
Well,
okay,
if they are in the future, then now they know where to find you. Thank you very much, Peter. Thank you very much, Joanna, for sharing with us all this information. For those of you who would like to learn more, then I would recommend to read the book, which is available, as I could see, on Amazon. I already have it on my Kindle. So Gen P is the book authored by Peter and Joanna. So this would be a good source of information.